What if you knew, right now, the exact fortune of the richest man alive changes by $9.5 billion in a single day, more than most countries earn in a year, and yet he still goes to sleep and wakes up wondering how to make even more. Today, we are going to take you inside the real numbers, the real names, and the real secrets behind the fortunes of the wealthiest people walking this earth in 2026. And by the end of this video, you will understand something that most people never realize about how true wealth is actually built. Right now, sitting at the very top of the world is Elon Musk, a name almost everyone knows, but very few understand how deep his fortune actually goes. His net worth is hovering around $927 billion, and depending on which day you check, it can swing by billions within hours simply because so much of his wealth is tied to the stock price of Tesla and the private valuation of SpaceX. Musk was born in South Africa, moved to Canada as a teenager, and eventually made his way to the United States where he studied physics and economics. His first big win came from selling a small software company, and instead of relaxing after that success, he poured almost everything he had into 3 separate ventures at once: Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity. In 2008, he was famously just weeks away from complete bankruptcy, as all 3 companies nearly collapsed simultaneously. Today, those same companies have made him the richest human being ever recorded, and some analysts believe he could become the world's first trillionaire in the near future. Just behind him are 2 names that most people forget started the exact same company together. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the co-founders of Google, are now sitting at roughly $295 billion and $272 billion respectively. Their fortunes are no longer just about search engines and advertising. Both men have quietly shifted their focus toward artificial intelligence, with Google's own AI systems now powering everything from cloud computing to their custom-built processors that are reducing their dependence on outside chip makers. What is fascinating is that both of them structure much of their wealth through company shares rather than cash, which means they rarely pay large amounts in traditional income tax, a strategy shared by almost every person on this list. Then there is Jeff Bezos, the man who built Amazon from a garage and turned it into one of the most valuable companies on the planet. His fortune today sits around $253 billion, driven heavily by the continued explosive growth of Amazon Web Services, the cloud computing arm that quietly generates more profit than the retail side of the business ever did. Bezos stepped back from being the day-to-day chief executive years ago, but his ownership stake alone continues to grow his fortune almost automatically. Not far behind is Mark Zuckerberg, whose wealth crossed $200 billion as Meta continues expanding deeper into artificial intelligence and the metaverse. And rounding out the top group is Bernard Arnault of France, the man behind the world's largest luxury empire, Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, whose fortune of around $190 billion comes from selling handbags, champagne, and jewelry to the rapidly growing wealthy classes across Asia. Now for our audience specifically, there are 2 names that matter even more, because they are not just billionaires. They are proof that this level of wealth is possible right here in our own region. Mukesh Ambani, chairman of Reliance Industries, has built an empire spanning telecom through geo, energy, and retail, with his personal fortune estimated around $120 billion. His story began with his father's small trading business decades ago, and today Reliance touches the daily life of nearly every Indian household. And then there is Gautam Adani, whose fortune of roughly $110 billion comes from ports, power plants, and renewable energy projects that are physically reshaping India's infrastructure. Both men prove that in a world dominated by American and European tech giants, South Asian business families are now competing at the very highest level of global wealth. We cannot talk about this list without mentioning Warren Buffett, the legendary investor whose fortune of around $145 billion was built not through owning a tech company or a factory, but simply through decades of patient investing in other people's businesses through his company Berkshire Hathaway. His approach proves that you do not need to invent something new to become extraordinarily wealthy. You simply need discipline, patience, and the willingness to hold on to good decisions for many, many years. So what is the real secret hiding behind all these numbers? It is not luck, and it is not simply working hard. Every single person on this list, without exception, built their wealth by owning something, a company, a share, a piece of an asset that grows in value over time. rather than simply trading their hours for a fixed salary. They reinvested profits instead of spending them, and they held on to their assets through market crashes, personal bankruptcies, and years of uncertainty when everyone around them said they had failed. The gap between the richest person and the rest of us can feel impossible to imagine. Nearly $1 trillion for one man alone. But the principle behind that number is available to every single person watching this video right now. Owning assets instead of just earning wages, reinvesting instead of spending, and holding on with patience through difficult years. That is the real Roz, the real secret, behind every fortune on this list. The scale is different, but the formula has never changed. If this changed how you look at wealth and money, make sure you are subscribed to Daulat Ka Roz, because we bring you the real stories and real secrets behind money, success, and financial freedom. Straight and simple, every single time.